Hey guys, Kevin Bupp here, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Real Estate Investing for Cashflow podcast. Our mission is to help you build and maintain massive amounts of cash flow through income-producing real estate investments. Now, our guest for this week's show is entrepreneur and real estate investment expert Keith Borie. Now, Keith is the president of Bobo Capital Ventures, a real estate investment firm based in San Antonio, Texas, that specializes in a number of verticals, including mobile home parks and traditional multifamily, as well as a home flipping division. Now, additionally, Keith also runs a very successful real estate brokerage firm and oversees 13 active agents. And so with that, guys, I'd like to welcome Keith Borie to the show. Keith, how you doing today?
Pretty good, Kevin. Thanks for having me on the show.
Appreciate the absolutely. Excited to have you here. Excited to pull back the curtain and learn a little bit more about you, yourself, your story, and really how you found your way into this world of real estate. And I know you're juggling a lot of things. I didn't even mention that, you've got a podcast as well. I know that you're still working a W-2 and kind of have a executive level role overseeing a lot of folks there. And so you've got a lot of balls in the air and have seemingly been successful at all of them. So anyway, just would love to dissect the story a little bit. I gave such a brief introduction. I know there's a lot more to it than that. So I want to pass it back to you and just kindly ask that you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background. And again, how you found your way into this crazy world of real estate.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of started my real estate career in New Braunfels, which is a small town, German town, just north of San Antonio, kind of in between San Antonio and Austin. And I started as a real estate agent and was selling homes for Coldwell Banker. But that's what kind of turned me on and, made me realize that there was an investment side of it out there as well. So I went from working for them to starting my own brokerage. This was all it was 2005 when I started my brokerage. Unfortunately went through the 2007, 2008 timeframe. And that was like somebody had just turned off my income during that period of time. So I had started to invest in some properties. I actually had a builder friend of mine who needed to get rid of some of his homes. So I bought one of his homes as an investment. Then we moved into that one and rented one out. So I'd really just started with little rentals. Had a bank building during that time frame as well, and then, like I say, somebody turned off my income. So, which is why I'm not full time as a broker, and I have that W-2 that I'm juggling, is because that was a rough time for me. I went through a period where I'd seen everything that I had kind of built up sort of go away. Along with, having decent credit and then going to bad credit and then kind of rebuilding after that. So, and I went through a divorce, Kevin, in that time frame as well. Financial strains. We're still good friends to this day, but financial strains on a relationship can be devastating. So, went back to school, got my finished getting my degree because at that time I had not completed it. And that's when I found the W-2, kind of rebuilt my both my credit and started to build my wealth back up again by buying properties. So I had a lot of small multifamily, which eventually led to in the year 2000 I bought my first. I'm sorry, not 2000, 2020 bought my first mobile home park, and that's kind of been our focus since. So
I love mobile home parks, and we can dive a little deeper in that topic, but would love to back it up a little bit and again just better unpack the story. So obviously you went through some challenging times. You started your own brokerage, went through some challenging times in 2008, as we all did. If you're in the business, and then you went through some challenges, maybe some worse than others, but definitely a lot of headwinds and challenges that folks were faced with. And so with that, you got a W-2, kind of built back up your income and your basis, and started investing again. But is that when you decide, like, how long into it did you decide, I think the timing's right to kind of focus back on that brokerage again and kind of get that thing rebuilt and start, turning that into a business again? I mean, because it sounds like you probably just kind of put it off to the side for the time being while you got
Yeah,
things
that's
back
great.
in order, correct?
It's a great question. Yeah. So, what I did is I did still have a few of my agents that have really had been with me the entire time. And then when I got the W-2, I had a good friend of mine, Cody, who basically just managed Newcastle Real Estate, which is my company. From there, he had opened up a brokerage as well, but I'm the broker. So he's kind of he manages, but the day to day on that. But the agents are all underneath Lockwood Realty, if that makes
Got it.
sense.
Got it. No, that makes sense. So you bought a mobile home park, but you also, again, you're speaking to the other vertical that you have, a home flipping division. Tell me about that a little bit, because that's again just
That's
another,
fairly new. Yeah, yeah. That
yeah, another couple balls to juggle, right?
right, exactly. Yeah, I've got another friend of mine. Actually, I mentioned home builder friend. We've done some other businesses together, and really just this year started flipping homes. So we are new to that side of things. And the most recent one has just hit the market. So um, we'll see. We'll
What
see.
are you
The
seeing? Yeah, what
market.
are you seeing? Obviously, a lot of market volatility. I mean, rates are really high. I don't know what what price range your this flip is in. Is it kind of starter home, mid tier, or higher end? But
Yeah,
just
it's
curious as to like what type of traction you guys are seeing. Has things slowed or?
it's definitely slow. It's definitely slow. There are things still selling. We're in an area that's kind of gentrifying, and so you've got a shack next to a brand new 3-story place, and different things in that neighborhood that we're really focused. But it's slow. We haven't gotten a lot of showings. We're aggressively adjusting the price just because we want to make sure that we don't keep it on the market too long. But it's a good time to a lot of times going into it, I thought, well, it's now really the right time to do this, but at the end of the day, I think it's more about time in the market and really exploring these things versus timing it, right? So,
Yeah, that's it. I
um,
mean, it's nearly impossible to ever get the timing right. I think now is always the right time. It's just, really putting that buffer in place for some of those variables, right? Slowing, transactional volume slowing, due to a
exactly.
variety of factors. One of the biggest ones being, the increase in interest rates. I think the 30-year fixes hit a record today for, it got pushed over that 8% threshold, and it's tough times. It's a tough time for home buyers, and with all that, the economy softening, people are pulling back on spending, and again, if you're trying to sell to that beginner home buyer, that starter home buyer, then they're concerned. They're concerned if their
For
paycheck's
sure.
going to continue coming in, and that they'll be able to afford not just their day to day today, but also this maybe increased monthly payment that's going to come along with buying a home. So, and then all the other nuances that come with home ownership, right? If you're moving from being a renter to it's not just the home payment, right? It's all those other just
Exactly.
repairs and maintenance and all those unexpecteds that come along with it. So
Yeah,
um,
and there's actually, what's interesting about right now with rates being as high as they are. It's one of the things that I had seen, yeah, probably before 2008, but a lot of times with mortgage lenders now, it seems they're advertising 2-1, 3-1 buy downs to kind of buy that
Yep.
rate down. So they're being very aggressive. I got contacted just yesterday with by two different ones, one of them sending me the flyer and everything that we can use for the property. But I found that interesting because it does allow them, at least to get in that first year with, if it's 2-1 buy down, it's 2 points lower, 2 percentage points lower. So
Well, the unfortunate thing about it is we're part of this vicious cycle ends up going is, folks that might have owned their home now for, call it, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. They've got a really low rate in place. They've got some equity in their home, maybe their rates in the 2 or 3% range. But they haven't been all that responsible with their spending. They've racked up credit card debt now over the last, number of years. didn't budget accordingly, and now they're just paying the minimums on these monthly credit cards that are whatever 21, 22, 20. I don't know where. I have
Right.
no idea what the APR of like a credit card is nowadays. I typically just pay off my balances every month, but I'm sure it's in the 20% plus range, right?
For sure.
But
Yeah.
then these, some predatory marketing tactics, suggesting to refinance and roll in all that really high rate credit card debt, and
Exactly.
maybe showing them some type of monthly payment savings, but really just a bad decision overall to roll all that credit card debt into a just inferior loan product that they're going to be stuck with for many, many years, and pay a significant amount more interest than what they would have if they would have just taken a different path. So,
Exactly.
I'm sure that market is probably already happening out there. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
imagine another angle that you can take, right, to try to sell loans nowadays. At least
That's right.
refinance loans, that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, in general has just slowed things down. I mean, people, like for us, for example, we had thought about possibly taking some equity out of the house, and by selling it, it was a great time to sell it. Things were selling for record amounts, but then what do you do once you
Yeah,
sell,
that's right.
right? Then you got to buy something else, and the rates are just so high, you can't get anything comparable. So
That's right. That's right. Yeah, very rarely can you ever, I mean, unless you do it in a very strategic way. But I mean, if you're talking like a primary residence and you can get
mhm.
a premium for it on the sales side, and you're looking to exchange it to another primary residence that's got all the bells and whistles that you really want, you're more than likely not going to get it for a steal. And it's kind of
That's
a
right.
linear move, right? No matter where the market's at, it's always going to be a linear move, and you're never going to be able to sell it at the peak and then think that you're going to get, catch it on the downswing and get an absolute steal in your dream home a short time thereafter. So,
For
so let's
sure.
talk
For sure.
about mobile home parks. Love mobile home parks, as you're well aware. We've been
Yes.
investing in that asset class for more than a decade now, and I know all the reasons why I love it. But I would love to hear it from your perspective. I'm always excited to talk to other fellow mobile home park owners and investors, and kind of get your story behind, what took you down that path, and maybe some of the experiences you've had thus far. I know you had mentioned that you're in contract with a park right now, that you're looking to close here shortly, but you've got a couple others that you bought over the years. And anyway, please fill me in if you would.
Yeah. So, as far as the reasons why, I was really I check the market on a daily basis. That's kind of how I kick my day off with my cup of coffee. And a mobile home park, and it was a small one, but a mobile home park came up on the deal, and just started penciling out the numbers, and I thought, wow, the cash flows are actually really nice on this. Compared to what I had seen on multifamilies. And most of the multifamilies, Kevin, that we've done have been small. The biggest one was a 10 unit, but a lot of 3 units and duplexes. And I was just looking, and the cash flows just seemed a whole lot better on this mobile home park. It was a beater though. It was not a pretty. It's actually a really pretty area. It's south of San Antonio, but the homes needed a lot of work, and this was one that was small enough. Lot rent by itself wouldn't do it. It was the rent. We were getting the rent, so we owned
Sure.
the homes, which meant we had to rehab them. And it's funny, my dad, I can remember coming down, and it's like, hey dad, you want to help me work on this property this weekend? He comes down, he's looking at it, and he's like, Keith, did you see this thing before you bought it?
Yeah.
That's how bad a shape it was in. But it did really, really well for us. It took us about a year to get it, maybe a little less than a year. Well, no, right at about a year to turn it completely around. We had to demo one of the homes, so I got to cut my teeth with that. That was a lot more expensive than than I had anticipated. And then we brought a home in, and bought one from a wholesaler, out of a park in San Antonio, brought it down. And so, I mean, it was an interesting turnaround for sure.
Were all
Uh,
those items you referenced, you said the demo is more expensive than you anticipated. I'm assuming also buying that used home and actually getting it in, getting it set and getting it connected and all that was probably also more expensive than we anticipated. Is that an accurate
yes,
statement? Yeah.
that is a very accurate statement.
Yeah,
And
we've actually found over the years, interestingly enough, and it all depends on the park itself, but it's just nowadays, for the price of what used homes sell for, unless you can basically get it for free. I mean, really, if you're going to pull it out of another park, unless you can get it for free, because even if it seems like it's in okay condition by the time it travels
Mhm.
down the road, there's going to be settling, and there's going to be a numerous amount of repairs that you have to do, even if from the outside looking in, it looks like it's in really great shape. And you're going to end up very quickly racking up on the low end, $5,000, and that's really low end, and probably
Right.
more closely to 15 or $20,000 to actually renovate it correctly, and maybe even more than that if you've got to replace a roof, plumbing,
Exactly.
HVAC, things like that. And so before you know it, you're into this 1980 home or 85 home for 35, $40,000, maybe not that, even if it's only 30,000, but whereas you could have maybe bought a brand new home for 45,000. So obviously more, but it's brand new. It's got a brand new roof. It's got brand new
Right.
mechanicals and all that. And so we've found that most of the time now it literally is just it's much more cost effective to buy the new homes. And so that's the route that we typically go. And but anyway, just most of it due to and as a result of many years of buying used homes and just realizing that it's very few times does it really make economic sense in the long run,
Yeah.
after you
Yeah.
put the rehab costs in and things like that. So if
For
they're in the
sure. For
park
sure.
already, different story, right? If they're already in the park, they're set up, they're connecting, they just need the rehab and they get good bones to them. Completely different story than buying something else and bringing it in. So, you made another
That's right.
comment as well. You had referred to your park as a beater, but the one thing that's important for everyone to know, you'd mentioned that it was a beater park in rough shape, but it was in a great area. The one thing that you cannot change is the market, right? And so
For sure.
there's plenty of parks that we've come across over the years that seemingly are beautiful parks, maybe had great intentions back when they were built 35 years ago, but they're in declining markets. Literally, one comes to mind right now that just came out on the market again not too long ago. It's in a really depressed part of Illinois, southern Illinois. It came across my desk probably 4 years ago, and at first glance, it was a 300 plus space park. Obviously, when it was built in the 80s, it had they put a lot of thought and energy into the overall design of it. Lots of nice oak trees and windy roads, and the lots are really nicely spaced out. And so, from the outside looking in, the park. It needs some work. It had some different means, but it had really good bones, and it was a great looking
Yeah.
park and a nice looking subdivision. However, it was in a horrific market where two of the major employers that employed like 20% of everyone lived in that town and surrounding towns, like literally one had already moved their operation overseas, and the other one was shutting down that operation and focusing on one of their other plants, in another state. And so people were moving out of that town in droves. I mean, there still was a population left, but outside of that, homes weren't all that expensive. Like the median home price in that town was like $90,000. I mean, that's
Right. Yeah.
that's like a fraction of what the national average is. And so affordable housing wasn't necessarily a problem in that marketplace. And so again, we could have put all kinds of money into that community. We could have pumped millions of dollars into it and made it look beautiful, right? Grand entrance, brought brand new homes in, but we can't change that market. We can't change how bad that market is. That's not going to reverse the negative effects that those other factors have had on that marketplace. And so anyway, so just back to the point of, you can fix the park, you can't fix the
That's right.
market. So you found a park, a beater
Good
in a great
market.
market. You fixed the
Right.
park up, and now you've got
City
a great park in a
utilities
great market.
too. That's right. That's right. Yeah,
So
and one of the other things that I thought was real neat about the park, it just made an impression on me. But and I've heard some other folks that are in this space mention this, but just the community. They the almost everybody had kids. The bus would come and do a stop right there at the park, and so of course the kids, while I'm there doing some work back then, I was more hands on. I was doing a lot of the repairs and the different things. Not so much anymore. That's not super scalable to do it that way. But it was neat to see the community and just see that everybody, Kevin, wants a nice place to live, a safe place to live for their kids, and so if you can provide that, it's amazing what that it's amazing how well people like that. So
yeah. I agree. I'm curious. Did you find, you mentioned like the start of your day, you grab a cup of coffee and you kind of, I think you said scan maybe the MLS or scan what's going on in the
That's right.
market. You mean by the, scanning the local MLS, correct?
That's
Is
correct.
that
Yep.
so? Have you found the two parks that you own and the one that you have under contract? Have all of them been found on the MLS?
So the two parks that I currently own have been found on the MLS. So that first one was actually by the time I got to it, and it was only a day on the market, but it went under contract. I put a backup contract on it, which in Texas, you can be in a backup position. You still deposit earnest money with the title
Hmm.
company. And if the first one falls through, and it did in this case, so that put me in first position, which was nice. And then the other one, I'm actually still friends with this guy to this day. He's a multifamily syndicator, but he had the other park, and I got that one. Got first dibs on that one, and basically he accepted my offer. Before we had it too much other competition on it.
Yeah, no, that's
The
yeah. The point I was trying to make there is that that's an area that a lot of folks that they don't even consider looking in, and your local MLS. And unfortunately, and maybe I'm wrong, but I do not believe there's a national like portal, for MLS listings across the country, right? Like it's all kind of by either region or specific
correct.
location or association, whatever. I don't know how the realtors classify it, but anyway, um, but what I have found is that years past, there's a number of deals that we still own today, and one comes to mind that literally has been just a home run. We bought it, I think, back in 2017, and we happened to have access. We had bought one other park in Maryland, and we had access to the local MLS through a realtor. He was a Coldwell banker, commercial realtor there, and I just would play around every once in a while there on that MLS, and I would scour it. And I know I'd been scouring it for a few months, and saw this 90 space mobile home park come up for sale, and at the price point that it was at, I'm like, God, I mean, just from outside looking in, I mean, I know this area, I actually know the park. I mean, it's a beautiful park, and that's a really really good price, without even negotiating it, and
Yeah.
come to find that the listing agent was just a local, residential agent, knew nothing about commercial real estate at all, had no idea how to actually value the property aside from just putting a value on each lot, literally just coming up with some arbitrary number of, what was it? It was like $20,000 a lot, or no, it was like $18,000 a lot, I think is how he priced it. And that
Right.
was it. Had nothing to do with the income. Didn't have any profit and loss statements. Didn't have any good financials from the seller. Not that he had any anyway. There was all handwritten ledgers and things like that. But in any event, we bought that for, I think it was 1.65, and we still own it today. And just had it appraised. It's probably been about 2 years, but it appraised for, I think, $6.5 million.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Just but when we bought it, the lot rents were $240 a month. Now I think the lot rents are $475 a month, and so anyway, just we're running it more professional than what it had been. Rents are now almost double what they were when we took it over. 6 years past, but I guess the moral of the story was, even back then, that park should have sold for every bit of double what we paid for it, and so that's
Yeah.
the whole point of the story was like it was mismarketed. Basically, and I think that happens a lot of the MLS on the commercial listings in the MLS. I think that happens quite often.
For
A
sure.
residential agent that has no business getting a commercial listing, something that that they have to understand how to read a P&L, right, and how to value the property, and what the the market cap rate is for that respective property or that property type, and they don't know, and so they just take their best wild guess. They might ask a few other associates, and they come up with a price, and that's how they list it. And sometimes
That's
it's way
right.
too high. Most of the time, it's actually too high. Most of the
Yeah.
time, they end up way too high in price. But every once in a while, you get it to where, like we did, you end up picking something up for just what I felt was an absolute steal. And the only reason being is that, again, it was mismarketed. So,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you find all sorts of deals out there like that. And then the other good resource there on the MLS is looking at stuff that didn't sell. Maybe they did have it too too expensive to start with. It goes to the expired list. But these are people that at one point wanted to sell, right? So
That's right.
being able, then you can target them with just reaching out to them. So
I'm curious as to how many mobile home parks might end up in that expired list. Probably not that many.
yeah, probably not that many. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're probably right on that. And then the one that we're currently going to be closing next week. That one's been one where my wife and I just went out on a Saturday and drove mobile home parks, and we would jot down the information. And then I've got software, of course, I can look up who the owner is and all that good stuff.
Driving for
So
dollars. I like
that's
it.
right, driving for dollars. So we literally, I just knocked on this lady's door, and she said, "Yeah, I actually would be willing to sell." That was 3 years ago, though, Kevin. So
Well, tell
come,
me about what happened over those 3 years. I mean, she was ready to sell or considered selling, and what's
she
taking so long?
Yeah, so her husband's the one that actually developed the park, and then she was interested in selling, but even at that time when I was standing at her front door with her, she let me know that her son handles all her business, and he's an attorney, and so she gave me his contact information. He and I had some conversations, and it didn't really go very far after that. And in fact, he kind of just went silent on me, and there's a lot of other kids involved. So there's like
Mm,
4 brothers and sisters. And so everybody couldn't quite get on the same page.
everyone's got to say.
That's right, exactly. So yeah, one of the things I did though is I looked up there were a few of the individual homes that were owned by somebody with the same last name, and then anybody that it looked like was associated with that, I FedExed an offer, and finally somebody called me out of the blue, that one of the daughters who I'm actually have really worked with me and worked through this over the years to finally come to where we are today. But she was like, "Do not send anything to my brothers and sisters again." That was a bit of a problem. And she said, myself and her brother are the ones that are really handling this, and yada yada yada. But
Oh, that's funny.
it was good. I mean, it's been a long haul. But we're
So,
finally getting down to the final
so
stretch.
what are
Yeah.
you doing for financing on the park that you're purchasing? Just curious, given where the markets are at.
Yeah, so that was a little bit of a surprise because the last the first one, I had hard money on it, and it actually worked out really well with the hard money. I reached back out on this 20 unit uh, to the same people, and they had no appetite to do hard money again. This is another one that has 6 homes that you mentioned good bones. I mean, they're good bones, solid plywood flooring. I just need to put flooring in there, probably going to redo some of the kitchens and put them on the market to rent. But it needs a lot of them. So it's not in a spot where, most banks would be comfortable with it. So actually went to a loan broker this go round, and he shopped it around. I could find some people that would finance it for, say, 50% down. But I needed the extra capital to be able to I've got budgeted about 125 to put into it. And I just wasn't going to be able to do that with that plan. So the long and the short of it is I had to go back to them and say, "Hey, the market is not, 3 years ago, if you would have done this, we would have
Right,
been in
that's it.
good shape," right?
Shame
But
on you.
that's right. But worked through it with them on owner finance. So I've got
Great,
owner
even better.
finance. Yeah, exactly. So
So, I mean, attractive terms. I mean, how did you? And I'm curious how ever all the siblings were able to get on the same page with maybe not getting their chunk of money all at once, right? And getting an income stream. So, just curious as to what you were able to negotiate as far as terms.
yeah, I mean, it's a smaller, smaller park, but I'm putting down about 200. So they're getting 200 at closing. And then financing the rest of it on an interest only term. So,
Okay, at an
but it's only
attractive rate, or
not attractive rate. No, not attractive rate, but it's
okay.
doable. So
Okay. Okay. As long as you
yeah.
get the deal
And
done.
it,
So,
yeah, we're at like I think 11% on it,
okay.
which, right now, and talking with both the lender I used on the original one, I mean, that was actually kind of on the lower end of the scale they gave me. They gave me like 11 to 13%, which is just sounds outrageous and crazy, but
Yeah.
it's kind of where we're at right now.
So what's the business plan? You're going to rehab the 6 homes that are there. Where are lot rents at today and where should they be? And then, is the plan to increase the park on home rents as well? Just give me a general idea what that plan looks like.
Yeah, so the first thing I'm going to attack is just the homes that are ready to basically need new flooring, but I can turn them pretty quick, because I've got some guys that I work with on the flips. I'm able to jump in there and turn these fairly quick. I did a little test ad, actually over the weekend, on just a home that I had already rehabbed at one of my other parks, and had, like, within about an hour and a half, had 25 inquiries off of Facebook Marketplace.
Nice.
I don't know if you
On a
guys ever
rental
use that or
or
not. Yeah,
a
on a
rental or for
rental.
sale? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's
rental.
Facebook Marketplace is it now. That's where 95% of our leads probably come from, and we post everywhere, but that's probably where 95% of them come from.
Yeah, it works out real well for that. But yes, so I'll be putting renters in there versus selling it the first go round. Probably on the 1 year renewals on the lease, I'll look at selling them. But what I'm trying to do right now is build up the cash flow very quickly. So I'll be renting those. So there's 6 of them that I'll be doing that with. The lot rents are between 3 and 325. And this is in the city of San Antonio.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
so I've got a lot of room to raise those up. Um, but again, want to start with getting new people in to the rentals, and then I'll up the lot rents. Right off the bat, we're going to bill back the water. So it's sub-metered. The prior owner had it sub-metered, but never, I don't know if when her dad used to own it or their dad used to own it, if they ever charged the tenants for the water, but somehow along the way they've stopped doing that. So
Hmm.
that's kind of an easy one to to do as well, to kind of cut down on some of the expenses.
Well, that's exciting. Well, no, that's great. I mean, I think just a couple things that I think that to summarize, first and foremost, those that are listening, if you're out there scouring for opportunities, one area that a lot of folks don't even think to look in is their local MLS or whatever market you're looking to buy in. Find if you're not local, you're not a realtor, find a local realtor that will give you access to the MLS. In fact, a lot of the the realtor sites they kind of have like their own portal typically, and some are better than others probably as far as the filtering goes, but to where you can go in and specific marks kind of scour the MLS. So that's one. Keith, you had also mentioned maybe kind of pulling up expired listings, whether it be multifamily
Right.
mobile home parks, another good place. But then the driving for dollars, which I can't say that I've ever done for a mobile home park. So I've definitely done it for for rundown homes many years past. But definitely have never done it for mobile home parks. So very impressed with that one. Just again goes to show, just put yourself out there and go knock on some doors, and you might just get a yes. You probably will if you do it enough times.
That's right.
So
Exactly. If you're persistent with it, you'll find somebody. You'll run across somebody at some
absolutely, it's
point,
all numbers game at that point. It's all a numbers
for
game.
sure.
Well, Keith, this has been a lot of fun having you. I really appreciate you coming on, and I know that we're scheduled for me to get on your show as well. So definitely looking forward to that. For those that want to learn more about you and the different things that you've got your hands in, where's the best place to track you down?
Probably my website's going to be one of the best places, and that's Bobo Capital Ventures. That's BOBO Capital Ventures .com. And then I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. And we'll be sharing once we get this deal closed, we'll be sharing some of the rehab stuff on there, just for people to see. So
Fun. All righty.
yeah.
Well, good deal. Well, Keith, I appreciate you joining us here today. It's been a lot of fun having you, my friend.
Yeah, yeah. Glad to finally. I've been listening a listener to your podcast for quite some time, so I was excited about the opportunity to be on the show.
Well,
So
yeah,
thanks,
glad to
Kevin.
have you. Absolutely. Absolutely. And guys, that's all we have for this week's show. So until we meet again next week, this is your host, Kevin Bupp, wishing you huge success. Take care now.